It didn't end with the slaying of the 300 at Thermopylae. It began. It didn't end with just another crucifixion at Golgotha. It began. It didn't end with the slaughter at Sand Creek. It began. It didn't end with the fall of the Alamo. It began. It didn't end at Ford's Theater. It began. It didn't end at the Lorraine Hotel. It began. It didn't end at Pearl Harbor. It began. It didn't end on 9/11. It began. And here and now, you arrogant and ignorant, evil and foolish, traitors and enemies, foreign and domestic, nothing is ended. Yamamoto knew better than you. You have awakened the American giant and filled us with terrible resolve. Rape-born, orphan adopted, blessed bastard, indigenous initiated, martial arts mastered, PSYOPs and special forces served to decades of duty in DEA and DIA, intelligence inducted, sabotaged and slandered, corruption crucibled, deep state betrayed, Yeshua saved, whistleblower warrior, rejecting revenge, humbled and blessed, repurposed in redemption as chaplain, leader, teacher, and truth teller. Now America's intelligence officer, following God, leading my family, and rallying all patriots to rescue our republic by restoring a virtuous populace. Welcome. I'm Jeff Prather, and this is the Prather Point. And wishing you a very happy new year. It doesn't look like I'm on Rumble today. Didn't let Andy know that I would do this. So my apologies for that, but I see a few on X. So 2026, the year the Uniparty is exposed and MK Ultra control is collapsing. Trump's accountability failure is a reveal, and America takes MAGA human terrain. The deep state's 5G war via fake news has failed, and the Praetorian Guard puppets podcasters, but poorly. That's what I'm going to be talking about today, but I'm going to start off by wishing you all a very happy new year. And I am happy and I am optimistic, and you should be too as well. And I just published a new Substack, but I'm going to go back to my previous Substack because I don't think that really got out very much. Kirk's kill, we already know enough. The fact that the FBI permitted the crime scene to be immediately and completely obliterated, even more so than Waco or Butler alone, is solid and incontrovertible evidence of a government cover-up. I'm not keeping up with the blizzard of Charlie Kirk increasingly technical and bizarre assassination theories, nor am I breathlessly following all the back and forth between so-called conservative commentators who are criticizing Candace and exposing Mitch's long history of despicable behavior while accusing and counter-accusing each other of disloyalty, of simple Fed slop, because that is exactly what the enemy wants. Muddy the water, dangle, and distract. Forget the fundamental facts that prove the government and TPUSA were in, or at least in on it, and not some ludicrous lone gunman with the wrong caliber weapon that organized and executed in less than a week, an op that would have challenged the best of CAG and DEV. The fact that the FBI permitted the crime scene to be immediately and completely obliterated, even more so than at Waco and Butler alone, is solid and incontrovertible evidence of a government cover-up, which means they were in on it. Kirk's security chief Harpole on ex-SEAL CIA Ryan's suddenly hugely successful show, do you think that happened spontaneously and independently? Lied multiple times about drone utilization, which indicates that he and various inside elements were highly probably in on it. Candace, with no law enforcement, no intel, nor SOCOM background, was likely conned by Mitch. But that does not invalidate the rest of her work, which on its worst day is better than the FBI's, and is actually proving to be true, as I will get to in a little bit. Personal and scriptural experience reveals that the Judases are trusted insiders, always. This time is no different. Motive, means, and ability must be and would be addressed by any real criminal investigators and authentic criminal investigation. And most importantly, cross-indexed. because even the most cursory review of the suspect, Tyler Robinson, reveals a paucity of all three. Recall when Patel quashed Joe Kent's efforts, who has actually been on the show, and he was in a Tier 1 Special Operations Intelligence Unit. I was in the forerunner of that unit as well. Quashed Joe Kent's efforts at CIA's National Counterterrorism Center to investigate potential foreign involvement in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, citing concerns that Kent was overstepping his authority by accessing FBI files. This is the exact opposite of exploring, examining, and cross-indexing motive, means, and ability. The reasons are obvious, though unspoken on mainstream fake news, because a closer analysis of these three would lead to those with real motive, means, and ability. Corrupt DPUSA insiders skimming funds, Israelis losing valued Kirk influence, and a government in thrall to Israel. In the end, it is irrelevant whether Candace is confused or conned, whether Mitch is malevolent or misinformed, whether Jones, Valhalla, Collins, or Webb are in on it or not. We may not and may never know the means, but we do know they are lying to us because they are ashamed and afraid of us. The wicked flee when none pursue. Proverbs 28:1. So again, Happy New Year. Lee reposted this stream. Appreciate that. Please like, share, and subscribe. I don't think I'm on Rumble today, but please like, share, and subscribe to me on X and Meta. Greatly appreciate that. And if you can, go to patreon.com/Jeffrey Prather and support the show at $5 a month, $15 or $25. $5 curated news stories, $15 special resources, $25 daily training videos, and the opportunity to train with me live monthly. But again, Happy New Year, and I'm very thankful for my life, to God, for my wonderful family, for all the blessings I have received, and for all of you who have stood by me. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year. The 2026, the year the Uniparty is exposed. In this new year, there is much to be happy about. And so I don't want people to be demoralized. I want everyone to be happy, and I'm going to explain why we should be happy. Looking back on 2025, it is easy to be depressed, negative, and demoralized. Trump, America's first Jewish and Zionist president, see my previous Substack, so entitled, has clearly and consistently placed Israel, not America, first, supporting Gaza genocide, Iran bombing, and pardons for Netanyahu. After the biological democidal warfare waged against the American people is well proven and documented, but not Fauci nor one of his henchmen have been charged. The Russiagate and January 6th insurrection false flag, now totally revealed to be deep state originated and run, has generated 0 arrests, save for a half-hearted Comey charge lying to Congress that Bondi had purposely designed to fail. Thousands of Republicans and J6ers were arrested under Pedo Joe. 0 Dems have been arrested under Trump. Trump's failure to hold the evildoers and criminals to any account will destroy his legacy. He will forever go down in alternative history books as the reformer who could have, but didn't. But his failure is our success. Because except for the MAGA cultists who worship him as Messiah that can do no wrong and for whom criticism is a blasphemy, our eyes are now wide open. It was never about him. It was always us. No one is coming. It's up to us. And while he, Congress, and the FBI and CIA are bought and extorted off or both, we are not. Trump, in his failure, has revealed the universality of the Uniparty. So why am I wishing you a Happy New Year? Because in this new year, there is much to be happy about. Yes, our republic is fallen, but the empire that has replaced it is failing. And we, the resistance, once the purview of Liberty Luminary Fringe, are growing into mainstream acceptance. For decades, the JFK assassination false flag perpetuated by the deep state intelligence community held sway to its control over the mainstream media. But no more. No one but the paid puppeteers support the FBI's Charlie Kirk assassination lie, and Charlie's assassination proves their desperation, while his martyrdom completely negates their objective in the first place. Turning Point's corruption and Israel's complicity have not minimized as they hoped, but are magnified, analyzed, and scrutinized. The deep state Praetorian Guard intelligence community that puppets everyone from Trump to Congress to the FBI and CIA are in trouble, and they know it. They rule from the shadows, relying on deception and deceit, propaganda, and political messaging. This is their MK Ultra program writ large and paid for by our tax dollars. From SSRI and subliminal messaging to the latest CIA film, but the films are no longer about CIA saving the country, but about rogue agents targeted for death and then deftly defeating the evil system. CIA is never the good guy. The rogue agents are. They have lost control of the narrative. The script shames them. The claymore has been turned. MK Ultra control is collapsing in upon itself. Why is this crucial? Because the CIA does not collect intelligence. It collects people to silo them, control them via the script, thus hold the human terrain. The problem for them is that they have lost the human terrain. A survey from the New Literacy Project confirms that teens, like adults, tend to distrust the news media in the United States. It's reported that teens' descriptions of the media include biased, boring, bad, fake, false, lies, crazy, chaotic, depressing, scary, deceptive, untrustworthy, compromised, wild, misleading. I'd say that sums it up. The report confirms an overwhelming 84% of surveyed teens have a negative view of the media. And of course, teens don't pay a lot of attention to the news media. The 9% have a positive view ranging from okay to great. 45% of the teens said journalists do more harm to democracy than to protect it. And only 56 believe journalists and news organizations take journalism standards such as accuracy and failure and fairness seriously in their work. 8 of 10 said journalists fail to produce information that is more impartial than other content creators online. The other content creators is crucial. And 7 of 10 of these think news organizations intentionally add bias to coverage to advance a specific perspective. The fake news controlled by the deep state intelligence community Praetorian Guard is not fooling them. NLP, with views like these, it's little wonder that many people also indicated they do not see the value of preserving America's fourth estate, which is the news media. That is the legacy media as it exists. It is dying. The average age for a Fox viewer is 70. About 2/3, 67% of the teens who were surveyed said they are little or not at all concerned about the sharp decline in the number of news organizations in the US over the last 20 years. They don't care that it's dying off. They want it to die off, and it is dying off because this older generation is 70 years old, and the younger generation is not interested in their lives. The NLP noted young people are not alone in their views. A 2025 Gallup poll shows record low trust in mass media, newspapers, TV, and radio, not podcasters. Among U.S. adults, with only 28% of Americans having a great deal or fair amount of trust and confidence in the mass media to report the news fully, accurately, and fairly. This means they have lost control of not just this generation, but the next. Their days of dominance through deceit are numbered. Thus, the desperation of assassinations are on the rise. But failing to understand fallen human nature, history, and scripture, they fail to see that their assassinations create martyrs that actually feed the resistance. This younger generation is rejecting not just the fake news, but the fake Christian pastors spouting Zionist lies, 1,000 of whom, in the worst biblical inversion in history, just went to Israel not to preach the gospel of Jesus the Christ, but to return to preach the primacy of political Israel to Christian Americans. But fear not. MAGA Christian Zionisms are being sidestepped by American firsters. The deep state's fifth generation fake news war on the American people has failed. To be sure, the Praetorian Guard puppet masters are moving from legacy media infiltration and control to the podcaster realm. But the terrain is unfamiliar and ill-suited to them. It's not sound bites. It's not cutaways. It's long, in-depth presentations with debate. Alex Jones' sea change on Candace was obvious, clumsy, and unconvincing. Paramount Tactical's Candace delegitimization smear backfired spectacularly on a live cast. And videos of Nick Fuentes urging J6ers to ignore police and enter the Capitol are widespread. TPUSA's staff lies are so numerous and outrageous that they will never recover. They have lost the initiative. They no longer control the human terrain. Like the failed Roman Republic turned empire, this American empire will fail and fall. As Little Italy was once mighty Rome, so too will go corporate America, co-opted, not conquered by Christians, just as before. None of this is to say that this process will be easy. The rabid deep state dog will bite anything and often and anyone. Things will get worse. Blood will be shed. But Christians co-opted Rome with martyrs' blood, as will we, as did Charlie. But I take great solace that when Stephen, whose feast day is observed on December 26th, was being martyred as the first Christian martyred, he saw a vision of heaven in which Jesus was standing at the right hand of God, a detail that contrasts with the more biblical description of Jesus sitting at God's right hand. I believe he stood, just as we do now for the anthem and invocation, to honor Stephen's sacrifice, as he will honor ours. So, Happy New Year. There is much to be happy about, much to be optimistic about. And again, I'm very sorry that I didn't alert Andy that I'll be on, so I'm not live on Rumble today, so can't take any of your comments there, but can look to your comments on X, and will do that as well. So let me know if you have anything to say or add there. Yep, see that, but not able to track it here. So 2026 must also be a year of accountability. The growing Minnesota fraud scandal, the January 6th committee's deliberate misrepresentation of the events surrounding that fateful day in 2021, the missing millions in California, and several other shady financial mysteries were uncovered over the past year. As 2026 knocks on the door, it's an appropriate time to ask, will Americans get some answers, some justice, or will they continue to be pacified by claims that these matters are being investigated? Well, my prediction is nothing will change. We'll just hear about more FBI fake terrorism, entrapment investigations, and these assassinations will, with their cover stories, will just go on. If there is unrest in the MAGA world, it has less to do with ideological differences than the haunting suspicion that in the end, there will be no real accountability for the people who are and were in positions of power. As 2025 has slipped away, prominent voices on the political right are wondering if it is true that the laws by which the rest of us are expected to live don't really apply to government officials, elected or appointed. And in 2026, nothing happens to change that. President Donald Trump's legacy will be forever tarnished. He will be go down in history as the president that could have began to reel in and reform the deep state, could have, but didn't. The Minnesota fraud is on a staggering level of amazing corruption, started under the Obama administration, claiming to have fed hungry children. Then came the daycare revelations, about $4 million reportedly given to just one of these phony operations, the Quality Learning Center. Yes, that is how it is misspelled. Nick Shirley, a YouTuber, did some real investigative journalism, something the establishment media has studiously avoided, discovered that many of these daycares were not actually caring for any children. Indeed, on Monday, December 9th, according to the New York Post, children were bussed in to attend the Quality Learning Center, even though one Minnesota official claimed the reason there were previously no children's facility was because it had closed down weeks before. Locals said it was the first time they had ever even seen children there. The Department of Homeland Security and the Federal Bureau of Investigation are looking into it. And of course, we know what that means. That means yet another cover-up. Nothing will happen. Yet not a single Minnesota government official has faced legal consequences. Attorney General Keith Ellison and Governor Tim Walz are both at the very center of it, not necessarily because either of them are personally facilitated or benefited by this. So far, there's no evidence of that, at least not publicly known, but the two of them, if anyone, should have been aware of these activities and should have acted. But the buck doesn't stop with the state government or attorney general. That means it is a failed state. So the republic has fallen, which means we have failed states. And that is not a bad thing, because as the government empire weakens and the failed state empires weaken, their hold on us weakens. And that is a good thing, because as they get smaller, they can do less damage to us. Again, the analogy of Italy was once mighty Rome. Is there still crime and sin in Italy? Certainly. But is it on the scale of the Roman Empire that enslaved and crushed so many countries and tribes and nations? No. So the failing empire that is America is a good thing, and it's good news in the new year. But if no indictments of senior officials materialize in 2026, millions of voters are going to lose faith, particularly in the Republican Party, which will suffer a blow from which it may never recover. In California, millions of dollars meant for the rebuilding of the Pacific Palisades, devastated by wildfires, seems to have disappeared without a trace. And the Pete Joe administration shoveled billions out the door, shutting it up shop. The U.S. taxpayer money is unaccounted for. As reported by the December 30th New York Post, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in its fiscal year 2025 agency financial report revealed that the Biden administration also made about $5 billion in payments to questionable rental assistance recipients. They include 30,000 deceased tenants. Money was sent to residents of all 50 states, many of them non-citizens, but a large concentration of the dodgy payments went to California, New York, and D.C., of course. Not a single person has faced any legal consequence for any of it. nor for the missing money from California, Minnesota, or Washington, D.C. And more fraud is now being unearthed in all the states. Recent events demonstrated that a significant number of the progressive left have little interest in evidence or proof. They just want their political opponents punished. They operate on the Stalinist-era principle attributed to Soviet secret police chief Lavrenti Beria, or perhaps Judge Andrew Wyszynski. Give me the man, and I will give you the case against him. Or show me the man, I'll show you the crime. It is more often quoted today as show me the man, and I'll show you the crime. In other words, just as what happened to Trump, both as president and private citizen, if real crimes cannot be found, they can be created and used by political opponents. So all of that is true, but it has woken us up, and we are awake and paying attention to all of this. And thank you to Stay Brewed for reposting this stream as well. So there are some predictions for this coming year that I wanted to share with you. And some of these references come from Visual Capitalist, looking at the future of the economy. And some of those are surprising, some of them not. The consensus mood is cautiously optimistic, but shot through with uncertainty. Morgan Stanley describes 2026 as a year of risk reboot, a period where market focus shifts from macro anxieties to micro fundamentals, creating fertile ground for risk assets. The policy backdrop is usually supportive. Fiscal stimulus, continued if slower monetary easing, and deregulation from what analysts call a policy triumvirate, rarely seen outside of recessions. Yet the economist strikes a more sober tone, warning that 2026 will be defined by uncertainty as Trump's reshaping of the geopolitical norms continues to ripple worldwide. The old rules-based order is drifting further, and the line between war and peace grows ever more blurred through gray zone, asymmetrical provocations, cyber incursions, and those cyber incursions are huge, by the way, and are happening right now, and I know that from my competitive intelligence work, an ambient rivalry between nations. In short, risk assets may thrive, but the world beneath them remains turbulent. For the third consecutive year, artificial intelligence dominates the predictive landscape, but the narrative has evolved. And of course, I am supporting Mike Adams' AI so that he can teach it correctly with my stuff and with our interviews as well. But AI, as far as I'm concerned, is simply a fast parrot. There is no real intelligence in artificial intelligence. There is no sentience. And I think that is the biggest of scams. But regardless, this is going to be the year of agentic AI build-out. So that means 75% of companies will be investing in agentic AI, autonomous systems that can plan, act, and adapt with limited human oversight. These AI agents are set to become digital colleagues, helping small teams punch up above their weight. Microsoft envisions a future where a 3-person marketing team can launch a global campaign in days, with AI handling the data crunching and content generation while humans steer strategy. After years of anticipation, productivity gains from AI are finally expected to materialize because they never have, by the way. Morgan Stanley points to AI-driven efficiency as one of the 6 key drivers of their bullish earnings outlook. Software and internet companies are expected to see generative AI revenue skyrocket more than 20-fold over the next 3 years. But remember, AI has anywhere from a 20 to 40% error rate. Even with Mike Adams' own Enoch AI, when I AI'd myself on there, it said I was an ex-FBI agent. Of course, I'm not an ex-FBI agent. I'm ex-DEA agent. And they had said I was an author of a firearms book, which I'm a longtime firearms instructor, and I am well published in magazines such as SWAT Magazine on firearms. I have never written a book, and so they actually fictionized that I had written a book. And I have written books, of course, but not one solely on firearms. So analysts expect earnings to do the heavy lifting in 26. Bank of America's Savita Subramanian projects 14% EPS growth, but notes that P&E multiples may actually contract by 10 points, meaning the market climbs a wall of valuation skepticism. The drivers are structural. Central bank buying, geopolitical hedging, and the concerns about fiscal sustainability. In a doable scenario of accelerating fiscal deterioration, gold could surge up to 15 to 30% from current levels, and that is really saying something. Because again, people are investing in gold and silver, precious minerals, because the currency is devalued. And because we are in so much debt and simply keep printing money. Quantitative easement, it's called. The IMF projects global growth at 3.2 in 2025 and 3.1 in 2026, below the pre-pandemic average of 3.7, but not recessionary. And of course, many of these numbers are faked. The metrics can be whatever you want the metrics to be. It's how you arrange them. Advanced economies are expected to grow around 1.5 to 1.6, while emerging markets hold above 4%. The consensus is a soft landing. Growth moderates. Inflation continues its gradual descent. And central banks ease policy, but not aggressively. So we shall see if all of that is true or not. Perhaps no theme generates more consensus than the tariff regime is here to stay. Trump's reciprocal tariffs are bringing in close to $300 billion in revenue annually. And while they may face legal challenges, Barclays expects the Supreme Court to deem them legal. That's very, very important. The effective tariff rate has peaked at 12.1%, the highest since 1934. So that is something that Trump is doing very well. And I've long talked about Trump's tariff war is really a reaction to China's 20-plus year unrestricted warfare doctrine executed via their 1,000 Talents program. Although, of course, Trump is going along with bringing in more than 600,000 more Chinese, but he is the first and only person to do anything to counter China's 20-plus unrestricted warfare policy. And so that is a very good thing. And I continue to praise him and his efforts in that area. See a comment there on X. Happy New Year, Jeff. I did not know you would be streamed today. All the best to the family. Yes, sorry about that. I did not alert Andy ahead of time. And so he did not get to publish it on Rumble. That was my fault, but I just felt strongly I wanted to get those new Substacks out. So please go to my Substack and read those new Substacks that I read at the beginning of the show. But perhaps no theme generates more consensus than the tariff regime, which is here to stay. And the economic impact is being absorbed more gracefully than many feared. UBS expects a soft patch in early 2026 as tariffs affect U.S. prices, followed by a broadening and strengthening of growth from Q2 onward. But the structural shift is profound. Trade may reroute permanently. Supply chains are diversifying. That's great, because if trade reroutes, we're talking about rerouting away from China so that we are not so dependent upon China, and having alternative supply chains, multiple sources is excellent for resiliency through redundancy. So that is really excellent. Facing deflation, though, a property crisis, and slowing domestic growth, China is pivoting to manufacturing and export dominance. Well, I wouldn't say China is pivoting towards manufacturing, because that's what they've been doing all along. That's how they executed their unrestricted warfare strategy against us. The country is repositioning itself as a more reliable partner, particularly in the global south, striking trade agreements as the U.S. retreats from multilateralism. So A reliable partner, I wouldn't say that. I think China is resented in many of these countries as well. But if America does pull back from all of its make believe wars and focuses on Central and South America, as it should, because that is its sphere of influence, then China will certainly move into those areas more. But China has a lot of influence in Panama and throughout Central and South America as well. But Trump has done a pretty good job of countering that. Morgan Stanley expects China's real GDP to expand 5% in 2026. That's huge. That's almost 5 times what is projected for the United States. But the helped by front-loaded government support, but the strategy creates global tensions. Industrial overcapacity could flood world markets, and tariff battles may intensify. The Economist warns that Russia and China will test American commitment to allies through gray zone provocations in Northern Europe and the South China Sea. Well, Russia is simply trying to end the Ukraine war, even though it looks like Zelensky, via the CIA and Ukrainian intelligence, have tried to directly assassinate him at his home recently. But the ambient rivalry short of outright war, but beyond normal peacetime friction, is expected to accelerate. So that's more asymmetrical war continuing to happen. That is the way war is being run now. That's either 5th generational war or even 6th generational war. Great power competition will increasingly involve space-based intelligence, drone technology, and AI-powered cyber operations. So those are my predictions for what is happening this year. And it's important to remember that this Minnesota monstrosity began under Obama. When Obama left office, Minnesota was the home to the largest Somali population in the country, now estimated at over 80,000 people. The concentration was strategic. By clustering refugees in Minneapolis, the Democratic machine created a voting bloc that could be harvested for elections and a demographic that demanded massive government outlays. They called it diversity. In reality, it was demographic engineering. The Obama administration poured federal grants into the refugee services, creating a lucrative industry of nonprofits and community organizers whose entire existence depended upon keeping the flow of refugees and federal dollars moving. This established the infrastructure for the fraud we see today. When you import a population from a failed state with no traditional Western civic duty and values, you teach them that government is a bottomless trough of free money, and you don't assimilate, you get predation. And that's exactly what we have. The genius, evil genius of the Obama era strategy was not just in the importation of people, but in the weaponization of race to silence dissent. Under the guise of equity, the Obama administration pushed for relaxed standards in federal contracting, specifically favoring minority-owned nonprofits. This created a regulatory environment where asking questions became a career-ending risk, being accused of racism. Consider the mechanics of the Feeding Our Future fraud. The fraudsters claimed to be serving thousands of meals a day to children who do not exist. At one site, they claimed to be feeding 2,000 children daily in a second-story apartment. Anyone with eyes could see this was impossible, so why did the Minnesota Department of Education stop? Because when they tried, they were called racist. The fraudsters, emboldened by the racial grievance culture Obama cultivated, sued the state for discrimination. Terrified of the racist label, the state resumed payments. This is the direct result of a decade of Obama-era policies that equated oversight with oppression. The bureaucrats were more afraid of a lawsuit from ACLU than they were of letting billions of taxpayer money walk out the door. But of course, remember that Obama was highly probably recruited by the CIA in Pakistan when he went there as a college student with his illegal Pakistani roommate on spring or summer break. Who goes to Pakistan on spring or summer break? They go to Miami Beach or Island in Texas. So who is doing this? Who is Obama doing this for? He is again doing it for the deep state. The protege of this was, though, Ilmar Omar and the Meals Act. If Obama built the machine, then Ilmar Omar is the operator. Omar is the ultimate product of the Minnesota Somali enclave. She rose to power not despite her radicalization, but because of it. She pushed it on everyone constantly down their throats. Obama's Trojan horse, how his refuge machine engineered the billion-dollar demographic reality Obama created, and her legislative fingerprints are all over this scandal. In 2020, as the pandemic began, Omar sponsored the Meals Act. This legislation fundamentally altered the rules for federal nutrition programs, allowing parents to pick up meals without children present, and removing the requirement for congregate dining, that is, dining together. While pitched as a compassionate measure, it effectively removed the only verification mechanism the government had. It was a blank check. It is no coincidence that the fraud exploded immediately after these rules were relaxed. Omar's campaign had accepted thousands of dollars from individuals, later indicted in the scheme, money she quietly returned only after the media glare became too bright. She defends the tax rules as necessary to feed kids, twisting the narrative to make you feel guilty for questioning the theft. But the money didn't go to kids. It went to luxury condos in Nairobi, the beachfront property in Turkey, and Porsches in Minneapolis. The rabbit hole goes deeper than just meal tickets. The connection between the Somali fraud network and the highest levels of the Democratic establishment are becoming impossible to ignore. Take a look at Rose Lake Capital, a venture capital firm, sounds like the Clintons, founded by Tim Minette, Ilhan Omar's husband. As the fraud investigations heated up, astute observers noticed that the firm's website was scrubbed of some very interesting names. Prior to the scrub, the firm listed advisors including the former Obama ambassador to Bahrain, former Obama ambassador to China, and a former DNC treasurer. Why are top-tier Obama officials swimming in the same financial waters as the family of a congressman whose district is ground zero for the largest fraud in history? These networks provide the cover. They provide the legitimacy, and they provide the mechanism to wash the proceeds of the grift. This is not just local corruption. It is federally integrated operation where the political elite protect the foot soldiers who deliver the voters and the cash. And we, the taxpayers, are paying for it every time. But the financial cost pales in comparison to the security threat. Much of this stolen money was remitted overseas. We know it bought real estate in Kenya and Turkey. What we don't know is how much of it ended up in the hands of al-Shabaab or other extremist groups in the Horn of Africa. By turning a blind eye to this fraud to preserve community relations, the Democrats have effectively turned the U.S. Treasury into a piggy bank for foreign interests, and politically, they have succeeded. The Somali bloc in Minnesota votes over 80% Democratic. They have sent Ilmar Omar to Congress 3 times. They are a captured constituency, bought and paid for with your tax dollars. And so that is the sad reality. Now, Trump is pulling the National Guard from some of these states. He's dropping a push for National Guard in Chicago, which, of course, Chi-Town is Obama's origin. And, of course, Al Capone, it's always been a totally corrupt town. Los Angeles, of course, is a mess. And Portland, Oregon, of course, we know about Oregon there. So Trump is pulling National Guard out of there because there's legal disputes. So I may have been wrong in my assessment that National Guard deployments, quick reaction forces, QRFs, will become permanent. Now, the National Guard do remain in other states as well, and they may return to these states as well. So I still hold for my prediction that the National Guard elements in all of these Democratic failed cities will remain, and it will become a standard. That is, they'll just be there year round. just like the tariff wars will be happening. And part of that will also be fighting the cartel wars as well. But I just wanted to say that he is pulling the National Guard from Chicago, LA, Portland, Oregon for now. So that looks like I may be wrong about that, but I'm standing by my prediction that that will happen. But again, I did want to take the time to do a special show today on this new year and tell you why I'm saying Happy New Year, because I am happy. I am optimistic. I want you to be optimistic and have good morale looking forward as well. And so hopefully I have explained that well to all of you. And I will close early with, I stand with the unashamed. My die is cast. The line is crossed. I won't look back, slow down, back away, or be still. My past is redeemed. My present makes sense. My future is secure. I'm done with small planning, smooth knees, colorless dreams, tamed visions, mundane talking, cheap living, and dwarfed goals. I don't need preeminence, prosperity, position, promotions, plaudits, or prosperity. I live by faith, lean on his presence, walk by patience, lift by prayer, and labor by power. My face is set, my gait is fast, my goal is heaven, my road narrow, my way rough, my companions few, my guide reliable, my mission clear. I cannot be bought, compromised, detoured, lured away, turned back, deluded, or delayed. I will not flinch in the face of sacrifice, hesitate in the presence of adversity, negotiate at the table of the enemy, ponder at the pool of popularity, or meander in the maze of mediocrity. I won't give up, shut up, let up, until I have stayed up, stored up, prayed up, paid up, preached up for the cause of Christ. I am a disciple of Yeshua. I go till he comes, give till I drop, preach till all I know, and work till he stops me. And when he comes for his own, he will have no problem recognizing me, because my banner will be clear. So from me and mine, wishing you a wonderful and blessed new year. Happy New Year.